14 here. Doing a quick review of Transformers The Last Night. Just got back from seeing it like 10 minutes ago, and it is currently 11:45 at night, so I'm tired. I have limited space to record this, so I will be brief. Quick spoiler-free review. I liked it. It's very good, in my opinion, but you're probably only going to think it's really good if you're a Transformers fan, because my dad saw it with me. He doesn't know that much about Transformers besides the stuff that's in the movies, and he was basically lost the entire time. So keep that in mind. It has better... The bots are in it a lot longer, and each robot has personality. Well, not each robot, but the vast majority of robots you end up seeing have a obvious personality and kind of get an idea of what the character is like, even if they aren't in the movie for that long. And so that's a big major improvement. It's got a couple of your typical Michael Bay isms. That's to be expected, but the plot, at least if you know your Transformers, is very coherent, and there's not basically anything that seems to contradict itself in this film. So there's not anything that doesn't make sense or anything. So that's good. Okay, so that's my spoiler free. We're moving into spoilers. Some of the spoilers, so Unicron is Earth, so that's something interesting they've taken from Transformers Prime. When we first got the teaser trailer and we saw Cybertron coming in to attack the moon, everyone went, "Oh, it's Unicron, it's Unicron." I'm like, no, you idiots, it's not Unicron. There's no way they would ditch the Unicron horns. Because if they did ditch the Unicron horns, they would know what kind of a firestorm they'd be in for. So I knew immediately that was going to be Cybertron and not Unicron. So Unicron is Earth. That's very interesting, I thought. So that'll make an interesting sixth movie. As for the main story, Quintessa, I find her very interesting because she's not really... Can you really call her a villain? She's an antagonist, yes, but she's trying to save Cybertron, albeit at the cost of destroying Earth, making her the antagonist of the film. But is she really evil? She just wants to save her homeworld. Megatron, sure, he's evil. He wants to wipe out the human race, and if he gets to save Cybertron, then hey, that's a win-win for him. He finds humans disgusting. Quintessa, I think she just probably sees... She may not outright hate them. She may even have some sympathy for the indigenous human race of our planet, but it's just that, well, our planet happens to be Unicron, so... kind of gotta destroy Unicron. He's the great bringer of evil. You know, it's a total needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, to quote Sentinel Prime / Leonard Nimoy / Spock. So I found her very interesting, even though she's not in the film for that long. Optimus's little twist in the Nemesis Prime. I like that name drop there. Him being Nemesis Prime, that was something I was okay with because it was so very obviously mind control. He was kind of being manipulated by her from the very second he stepped foot on Cybertron again. And she slapped him and the red mark appeared. Now kind of famous, iconic, I would dare say iconic red mark on Optimus Prime's face that turned the eyes purple. So, in all the electric shocks and stuff, he was so obviously being mind controlled the entire time. And so, anyone that says, oh, the character motivation wasn't there, I'm like, well, it was mind control. Do you really need much character motivation for mind control? And it clearly showed that when Bumblebee actually spoke, that's pretty awesome. When Bumblebee actually spoke, it was something that was able to snap Prime out of it, and you could see that red mark disappear, hence the mind control being broken. Now, some people might cite mind control as being a tired trope by now, but okay, that's your preference. I thought it worked out fine. Bumblebee's voice... I like the sound of it. I wish there had been a tad more explained about how it came back. Sure, Day Trader, who Steve Buscemi came into voice for like 5 lines for some reason, delivered a new voice box. So I can buy that okay, his voice is restored through the use of this new voice box. But it doesn't work at first. It seems like it's just a piece of junk. Did he put a timer on it that it's like it will not activate until this time? Did Izzy somehow not correctly install it so he got the Siri voice instead? And so when Optimus was knocking him around, then that finally lodged it into the correct place, and then Bumblebee was actually able to speak with his own voice. I don't know. I wish they'd explained that better, but it's still cool to hear B speak nonetheless. Although he sounds nothing like he did in the first movie. Although, granted, that may have not been his actual voice either. That may have been his voice through the damaged voice box. So I can see that being an explanation. Izzy and Squeaks. They were there. I heard some people going, "Oh, they're the next Ray and BB-8." They were just kind of there. They didn't really have that big a role to play. So, okay, whatever. Neither did the other guy, who I can't even... I'm just going to call him Jimmy J. I don't know if his name is actually Jimmy. I can't quite remember because I just remember it's like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade out here, Jimmy J. So I don't know. I don't think I ever really caught his actual name if it's not Jimmy. So he was just kind of there as well. Mark Wahlberg, liked him again. Liked him in Age of Extinction. Liked him here. The other Autobots, I enjoyed them. Drift had considerable less screen time. He didn't have I was expecting a giant car moment like he did in Age of Extinction, so I was a little disappointed by that. But he still had... No, actually, hold on. Now, I'm going to backtrack that. When he's balancing, I saw it coming, but when he's balancing and then the little mini strafe starts swinging around him and he starts going, trying to swat it, that I thought was a good moment, even though I saw it coming. So, Hound was fun. Crosshairs was fun. I especially liked his two little comments like, "Yep, he's a chunky Autobot," and goosebumps every time. Can Transformers get goosebumps? I don't know. Hot Rod, I liked Hot Rod, especially how he couldn't actually say his own name. Hot Rod. What is that? Oh, it's Hot Rod. So that was interesting. I can't wait. I think I'll be picking up the toy of that. That's a nice toy. Anthony Hopkins' character, Sir Edmund Burton, whatever. I liked him. He was kind of an interesting level of eccentric. So that was fun. I enjoyed that. Cogman was a blast as well, especially how he shot himself out of the submarine like a torpedo, caught the two fish, and then served up a meal. I think all of those scenes in there could have been cut because really they didn't really add that much, really. But I found them enjoyable, so I don't overly find them useless. They were amusing. Let's see here, what else? Megatron was great, especially hearing the great Frank Welker actually play Megatron with that design and the arm cannon. He had a great big arm cannon. That was great. And especially, I really geeked out in the theater when he said, "Enfractus," or whatever the name is, "transform and obliterate them." It's like the way he would command Devastator in G1. That was awesome. I loved that. That was a nice little callback, and that was great fan service stuff there. It was nice to see Simmons back for all of the short little time he was there. That he's like, hey, let's throw Simmons in there. Why not? He didn't really contribute that much to the film. His character could have been completely written out and changed up, and they could have found that book in the library some other way. But oh well. It was still nice to see him back, and especially kind of being his crazy self. Although I do want to know what happened to Dutch. I really miss Dutch. He was great. Odd little... It's like, do the Order of the Witwickens care so little for Sam Witwicky that the picture in the big Witwicken Museum is his eBay profile? That I found humorous. So there was that. And Barricade, it was really, really cool to see Barricade. I feel like they're saving him for bigger things in the future, maybe. It was nice that he was included, and we got some actually more like he's actually just regular talking lines besides just screaming at Sam, "Are you Ladies Man 217?" It actually sounds like that's the voice he can carry on a conversation with. And while I was kind of hoping secretly down in my heart that they would have gotten, it's late, so I forget his name. It'll probably pop up right here with an arrow pointing saying, I'm an idiot for forgetting this, even though it's late at night. Um, I was kind of hoping that they would have gotten the voice actor that played Barricade in the first Transformers game from 2007 when the first movie came out, because that's just like that. Because the way his personality was in that game and the voice that went with it, I'm just like, that's Barricade. And then you just kind of get, are you using Laser 217 in the movie? But and no personality. We didn't really get much more insights into Barricade's personality here, but it was nice to hear that Jess Harnell was back voicing him. Although, he sounded a little too Ironhidey for my taste. His kind of irregular, kind of toned down, not yelling Barricade sounds a little too much like Ironhide. So I'm like, oh, it's Ironhide's voice coming out of Barricade's body. And there's a beautiful shot early in the film where you actually get a nice close-up of Barricade's face. And we never really get to see it, but I feel like either the head design was revised between when they gave the design to Hasbro to make the toy, and in between when they, because there's that thing of Barricade, and you have that obviously weird looking head. The head we get in the film is not that head. So either that is a battle mask that comes down and that's what's on the toy, and we just never really get a good close-up shot of it in the film, or they change the head design around. And if they change the head design around, I would not be opposed to that, because I actually like this head a lot better, because he's still got kind of the 4 circular eyes, but the 2 in the back are blue, and so the 2 in the front are red, so it looks like he only actually has 2 eyes, even though he's still got the 4. I still wish they would have given more pointy head look to just kind of, because overall the rest of the body looks like it's just a slightly different version of Barricade, but the head is just still too much of a departure for my liking. I wish that they had at least given him little devil horns. To the rest of the way they revised the head, the rest of it, okay, sure, it's a little chunkier. But if they just given him little horns up here, that would have been perfect, and I think that it would have been 100% okay with the new design. But it's just a little too different for my liking. But I'll probably still be picking up the toy, so who am I to complain? Let's see here, who else? Vivian Wembley. I kind of liked her. She was interesting, because she had a decent arc through the film, because she just didn't believe in these legends at all, and then as it turns out she's actually part of that legend, and her kind of realization with all that was really interesting. Of course, her and Cade's romance, not really done well, but oh well. It was done better than the relationship between Tessa and Shane in Age of Extinction. I'll say that much. I wasn't annoyed by one half of that couple. So, good job. You improved on something. But, honestly, they could have not gone for, it's obvious they were going to go for a romance, because, that's just the way Hollywood works. Not even the Transformers movies in general, but that's the way Hollywood works. Why did we need a love story in Pirates of the Caribbean 5? Because that's the way Hollywood works. Why do we even need a love story in Transformers 5? Because that's the way Hollywood works. I don't get why we need a romance plot in basically every movie. I think one of the reasons I'm liking a lot of these Marvel films as of late is because they're just completely ditching the love story. Well, maybe not. Civil War and Doctor Strange. Age of Ultron. Yeah. I retract my statement. Never mind. But, never mind. Dinobots. Where were they? That was a little weird. We got even less of the Dinobots in this film than we did in the previous film, which is weird. But hey, they could be in every scene in the next movie for all we know, because it feels like that this next scene is going to be kind of the culmination. Like Dark of the Moon was the culmination of the first trilogy. This is going to be the culmination of the next trilogy, so they're going to kind of throw all their chips in. So I feel like we could be getting a lot of the Dinobots the next time, because it's just that there wasn't really. They could have participated in the final battle, but that wouldn't have really. But well, maybe not, because the Dinobots are so massive. The night ship would have been. And that's probably the one thing that I feel like didn't exactly work with the plot, is that, oh, we'll use the night ship to get the Ospreys in. It's like, why not just land the night ship? It's a spaceship. It goes into space. Just land the night ship on that piece of grass. Use some cannon that the night ship probably has to take out the other cannon. Land it there, and then you can rush in and grab the staff. Didn't see why they needed the Ospreys, except them crashing was really awesome. Okay. Oh well. Again, great voice acting from Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen always does an awesome job. One thing I'm still not. I mean, again, this is what I do if I was running the movies, which I wish I was. But that's probably not going to happen unless the Transformers franchise is still going in 20 years and I make it as a director in Hollywood. I don't know. But one thing I just do not understand about these movies is when you get a celebrity to be the voice of a robot, why is that not in the main billing? And not even just celebrities. At this point, everyone knows the voice of Optimus Prime, but hardly anyone really knows the man behind the voice, Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen is so awesome. Regardless of his Optimus Prime, he's such a gracious person. And I mean, he was Eeyore for a while, for a long while there. He's my Eeyore instead of my Optimus Prime. But I really, it was nice to see, directed by Michael Bay, starring Mark Wahlberg. You know, whoever Vivian was played by, Laura Haddock, that's her name. Sir Anthony Hopkins, and then Peter Cullen, John Goodman, Frank Welker, John DiMaggio, Ken Watanabe. It's like maybe not designate a screen to each of these robot actors, but have Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, John DiMaggio, and then in like the regular voice actors on one screen, and then maybe have a screen before them with the celebrity voices, like John Goodman, Ken Watanabe, and Steve Buscemi as day traders. Like, have those. You can put those first after your Mark Wahlbergs and your Laura Haddocks and the other main human people, and then put the celebrity voice cast, and then put the regular voice actors after that in your starring. And you don't have to designate a slide for each of those names, but one slide with a culmination of names, like how I think, if I remember correctly, John Turturro was kind of thrown in there with like Glenn Morshower or a couple of the others this time around, instead of having his own thing that said with John Turturro. So I really wish they would do that, just to give them a little bit of recognition. It may have something to do with the Screen Actors Guild and voice to screen, whatever the Voice Actors Guild is named, and to do with paychecks and stuff. It's like, maybe, you know, if you get paid so much, then that's where your name shows up, and the voice actors, whether they be celebrity talent or not, just don't get paid enough to have their name up there. I don't know, but it would still be really cool to see, you know, directed by blah 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 blah, then Peter Cullen, Frank Welker. That'd just be, instead of having to wait through the credits to finally see voices, and then there's all the names. But oh well, that's just my opinion on the matter. So let's see. I'm trying to think of my favorite moment of the film. As far as comedy goes, when Cogman was performing the score to the film on the organ, or being the choir, and Edmund Burton was, or Button, whatever. It's like they kept calling him Button or something. I think it had to do with the accent, but the Anthony Hopkins. I'm just going to call him Anthony Hopkins. Odin. And he just kept getting annoyed and he's like, Cogman, stop it! It's like, what? I'm trying to make it more epic. It's like, that was funny. That was really funny. And I kind of ended up. I was not on board with Hot Rod's French voice at first, but I've grown into it. I can see that working, and I like Hot Rod. I hope he stays around for the next couple of films, because this was the first. We did not have a single Autobot death in the film. that is a first, and I'm not counting Canopy at the beginning. Also, if for people out there that are it's like, oh, you can't tell. The robot designs are so stupid. You can't tell the difference between Canopy and Bumblebee. Yes, you can. If you can't tell the difference, you are an idiot. I'm sorry. It's like okay, they're both yellow. They both got blue eyes. Okay, but other than that, they have so many different differences. For one thing, the body types are completely different. The heads are not that similar. Besides the blue eyes and the yellow color scheme, Canopy has a mouth, which is another weird thing. First little bit in the movie, robots show up. They don't have moving mouths because Canopy is talking to Izzy as he's dying. Mouth isn't moving. Optimus Prime lands on Cybertron. Mouth isn't moving. At first, I'm like, oh, it's just in his head. But then the camera pans around to him and you see his mouth moving. It's like, that's weird. Hound arrives at the battle and he says, well, I guess I didn't. Sorry, I'm late. My invitation to the party must have got lost in the mail. And he revs up his can. Mouth wasn't moving. That was a little weird. I don't know if there were some scenes that got cut and they had to throw that in there in places where it didn't belong. Oh well. But what was I discussing before that? I liked it. I would recommend it. Of course, if you're a Transformers fan, if someone is not really that into Transformers and they don't know that much of the lore, and they go to you say, oh no, the person I've been seeing people say it's actually good, and the critics are just being idiots. It's like, that's right. It's the whole design thing. See, I managed to find my way back to it. But yeah, I would say, yeah, don't take them because they will probably be very, very lost. Not be able to follow it because of all the Transformery stuff in there. So yeah, so that's it. I recommend it.